The fog hung heavy over the garden that December afternoon, muffling the sounds of the bustling city beyond. Kaspar Hauser, pale and trembling, clutched his chest as blood seeped through his fingers. The cryptic note in his other hand trembled in the icy wind as his eyes darted across the empty garden. "I know who you are," the figure had whispered before plunging the blade deep into Kaspar's flesh. But no one was there now. The garden was empty, save for the dying boy and the unanswered questions that swirled around him. Who had lured him here with the promise of unveiling his true identity? Why had his life, so filled with mystery and conspiracy, come to such a violent end? And more unsettlingly, who had he really been? As Kaspar's breath grew shallow, the echoes of his past, the tales of his strange captivity and his royal ties, seemed to unravel around him. The truth had always been just out of reach, and now, in these final moments, it seemed it would remain so, forever buried in the shadows. His life, his identity, his death, all part of a puzzle that no one had ever been able to solve. Kaspar's story was never just about a lost boy. It was about power, deception, and secrets older than anyone could guess. This is the tale of Kaspar Hauser, a forgotten enigma that still haunts the corridors of history. It was May 26, 1828, when a disheveled young man appeared in the streets of Nuremberg, Germany, as if he had stepped out from another world. He carried a letter addressed to a local cavalry officer, written in a hand so shaky it was almost illegible. His clothes were in tatters, his feet blistered from walking barefoot, and he barely spoke a word. When he did speak, it was in a halting, childlike manner, as if language itself was foreign to him. The letter, it turned out, was a mere prelude to the baffling mystery that would surround this boy for years to come. The youth, who called himself Kaspar Hauser, claimed he had been held in isolation for as long as he could remember. His life, he said, had been confined to a dark, windowless cell, where his only human contact was a figure who fed him and left him alone in the shadows. He had no sense of time, no understanding of the world beyond the four walls of his prison. His knowledge of the outside world was almost non-existent, except for the curious ability to write his name and a longing to become a cavalryman like his unknown father. But who was Kaspar Hauser, really? And why had he been kept in such isolation? As Kaspar adjusted to life in Nuremberg, his strange tale began to unravel, but instead of answers, it only raised more questions. He spoke of his long captivity in vague, unsettling terms, describing how he had spent his life in a small, dark room with no windows, no company, and no knowledge of the world beyond. Occasionally, a faceless figure would bring him food and water, but he had never seen this person clearly. His only toys were a couple of carved wooden figures, and his only light came from a small hole in the ceiling that barely illuminated the tiny space. The boy's tale was both haunting and bewildering. How could someone survive in such isolation for so long? And why had he suddenly been released? Was it an act of kindness or something far more sinister? As the townspeople tried to unravel the mystery of his past, rumors began to swirl about Kaspar's true identity. Some believed he was a feral child raised in the wild with little human contact. Others thought he might be the victim of a terrible crime, a boy stolen from his family and kept hidden away for years. But the most tantalizing theory of all was that Kaspar was of royal blood, the lost heir to the House of Baden, kidnapped as an infant to prevent him from claiming his rightful place on the throne. This theory, that Kaspar was the rightful heir to a noble family, gained traction as more details of his story emerged. According to some, he was the son of Stephanie de Beauharnais, the Grand Duchess of Baden, and had been kidnapped as an infant to ensure that another family member could claim the throne. His captors, it was believed, had kept him hidden away in a remote location for years, ensuring that no one would ever learn of his existence. There were even whispers that his sudden appearance in Nuremberg was no accident. Some suggested that he had been released as part of a larger political scheme, while others believed he had escaped his captors on his own. But if that was true, why had he been kept alive for so long? And why had his captors taught him to write his name and left him with vague memories of his past? Despite the speculation, there was little evidence to support the theory of Kaspar's royal heritage. While his story was compelling, it remained just that, a story. And as Kaspar's fame grew, so did the mystery surrounding him. In 1829, just a year after his appearance, Kaspar was found with a deep wound on his forehead. He claimed that a man had attacked him, the same figure who had held him captive for all those years. The attacker, he said, had warned him to keep silent about his past or face the consequences. The attack only fueled the speculation about Kaspar's identity. Some believed it was proof that he was indeed a royal heir, and that there were still those who wanted him silenced. Others, however, began to doubt Kaspar's story. Was it possible that he had inflicted the wound on himself? Could he be fabricating the entire tale for attention? Kaspar's behavior after the attack did little to quell these doubts. He became more erratic, his story more disjointed, and his demeanor increasingly childlike. The once adoring public began to turn on him, questioning whether he was truly the victim of a grand conspiracy or merely a clever fraud. Then, in December of 1833, Kaspar was found in a garden with a fatal stab wound to his chest. He claimed that a stranger had lured him to the location with the promise of revealing information about his true identity, only to attack him. A note was found nearby, written in mirror writing containing cryptic clues about the attacker's identity. But despite an investigation, no one was ever able to identify the mysterious figure. Kaspar died 3 days later, taking whatever secrets he might have known to the grave. The note, rather than providing answers, only deepened the mystery. Some believed it was part of a larger conspiracy to silence Kaspar once and for all, while others suggested that he had written the note himself in a final bid for attention. The truth, like so much of Kaspar's life, remained elusive. In the years since Kaspar's death, countless theories have emerged about his true identity. Was he really the lost heir to a royal throne, or was he simply a victim of circumstance manipulated by those around him for their own gain? Some believe that Kaspar was the illegitimate child of a noble family, hidden away to avoid scandal, while others maintain that he was an imposter, fabricating his story to gain sympathy and attention. Modern DNA testing has cast doubt on the theory that Kaspar was of royal descent, but the mystery of his life and death remains unsolved. Was he a pawn in a larger political game, or was he simply a boy caught in the web of his own lies? Kaspar Hauser's story is one of Europe's great unsolved mysteries, a tale of identity, deception, and dark secrets that spans centuries. His sudden appearance in Nuremberg, his tragic death, and the countless questions that remain about his life have captivated historians, writers, and conspiracy theorists for nearly 2 centuries. Was he truly a victim of a royal conspiracy, or was he a cunning fraud who manipulated public sympathy? Did he know more about his origins than he let on, or was he just as much in the dark as the rest of the world? The answers, it seems, are lost to time. Kaspar Hauser's life and death remain shrouded in mystery, a forgotten enigma that continues to haunt the annals of European history.